What's the takeaway on today's Motorhead Garage? Improved engine performance and how to measure it. What else do we learn? To stay out of no parking zones.
That guy had made a payment, he'd be okay.
Hey, welcome to Motorhead Garage. Well, folks, if you got a diesel truck in your garage, you experience some drivability problems, we may have the answer for you. What we're working on today is this Ford F350. And if you got cold start problem, in other words, it's hard to start it, kind of runs rough, got poor gas mileage, belches a lot of black smoke, you could have a diesel injector problem. So I can pull this injector out, so we can take a look, see what we got. Okay, now, this is a little bad boy right here. There's several more of these in here that I got to take out, but let me show you what we're talking about over here.
These are actually pretty easy to get out on this 6-liter V8 diesel, but you know, you can't tell by looking at it that it's bad.
No, you can't. Now, this is your regular injector right here. And what you see right here, this is an oil rail, but this has got oil pressure in it from the engine. Now, it's got a separate oil pump for this. It develops about 4,000 pounds of pressure, which transfers through here, and the injector actually sits like this on top of it, and that's what actually gives you the pressure to operate your injector. Now you also have a solenoid in here, and this little area right in here is what gives us some of the problems.
Absolutely. I'm proud of you working hard. You got diesel fuel in your hand. You're getting dirty for a change. These UE injectors are basically a hydraulic electric injector. That's a signal from the computer to trigger a solenoid, and the hydraulic pressure lets it fire the injectors. When you need injectors, they're pretty expensive. We got you covered here with a company called Warren Diesel. Now, what Warren Diesel does is they remanufacture injectors. They do a great job. They got a stock injector right here. These are completely remanufactured top to bottom. They test them electronically. One of the failures on these 6-liter Fords is this little white wire system here, because they use a lot of current to try to heat up the oil when it's cold to prevent that drivability problem. They check them out electronically, and they flow every injector. And you can buy a set of stock injectors for about $800 with a year warranty, unlimited mileage, save you a bunch of money, over almost $2,000 from the OE. If you want to get a little performance step up here, this is a 155cc injector. It's got everything new, it's all reman, and it's a great step up if you can do with some towing. You know, you want a little bit more performance, better drivability, they got that covered. And if you want to really get some performance, like this 6-liter truck here, is step up. It's got a Marty fuel system with the pressure regulators, the pumps, the filters, the whole deal. It's got a big Barter turbo on it, big exhaust. This is a 250cc hybrid injector, which means it has a bigger barrel, bigger plunger. But all of these injectors are great from Warren Diesel, because here's the magic bullet right here. This is called a spool valve, and this is what gives you the drivability problems when these 6 liters are cold. This little valve, when the oil's thick, causes some stiction in here. What they do is they make their own spool valves. They're special material, proprietary to Warren Diesel. Precision hone it, gets rid of all that drivability problem in one. That's the magic bullet right there.
That sure is. And of course, you know, these are all rebuilt, and then once you got it all out, then you start replacing them.
Yep.
You got one there for me to replace?
You want to, no, we need to put this one here, and this is the big one.
This is the big one?
And I got another box of them, yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead and get this one started.
And you want to make sure, because these come with all new seals and O-rings and so on, and when you put your oil log back on top, you got to make sure all of that's sealed up. And that's critical. You got to do oil changes and use the proper oil. It's the way to go with taking care of a diesel, particularly with these types of injectors. And they cover all the 6 liters there are here at Warren Diesel.
All right, now this is the retainer that goes on here. This slides in, is keyed, by the way. So we're going to slide this injector in here. You really can't make much of a mistake on that. You get it in. There we go. Just down there. And we'll go ahead and start running this thing down. Now these bolts, these hold-down bolts, torque these to about 31 foot-pounds on there. But I like to take out an ejector one at a time, put in a new one, just work my way through, and then I'm in good shape here. So let me get this down so it's snug. There we go. Okay, that's snug. Now I'll torque that a little bit later. Take our plug, put it up here to our valve cover. Once we get that set, then we can, there we go. Set, and we'll go ahead and plug in our wiring harness. So we got a bunch more to do. In the meantime, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got a lot more coming here on Motorhead Garage, so stay with us.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by Original Parts Group, the world's largest source for GMA body parts and accessories. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radios since 1977. Steel Rubber, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology.
Hey, welcome back to Motorhead Garage. Well, folks, if you're into the used car business or a collision shop or even roadside assistance, or even if you're a repo guy, we got something for you. This is a self-loader, and this is from Lift and Tow. Now, this is a tow system you can hook right to the back of a 3/4 ton pickup or larger. Now, this is the heart of it right here. This is what they call a subframe, has a control box to it, and it's adjustable for different models. And this is the first thing we're going to put on right now.
Get it over
Just a little bit. That's about good right there.
Okay. All right, this subframe Cal and I are installing here is exactly the same as the one Dave showed you on the floor. Now, this is Cal from Lift and Tow. Now, this is your brainchild, and you make it right here in America, right?
Make it right here in America with North American steel.
That's good for me. And you know, you don't have to have a lift. We got the luxury of a lift, a transmission jack. You can do this in your driveway with a couple of jack stands and a jack and some help from your friends. So what's our first move here?
Put a U-bolts in the top on the side of the frame here.
Okay. We got some U-bolts like this, and because they have nuts and washers. This thing is universal. This same subframe goes in every truck. Ford, Dodge, Chevy, UD, whatever. And the mounting plates are different. Is that what it is?
Right, it's just a mounting plate to the Chevrolet and the Dodge with a tube frame, depends which truck it is. And you can take it off one truck and put it right back on another one.
The neat part is, there is no drilling, and you know how the OEs frown on you drilling their frames. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come around the chassis rail. You gotta get up underneath here. So we've got two mounting plates that we're putting in the back, and it's of course sort of like a receiver. Then we've got two more that are gonna go up front. We're gonna need to bar this forward a little bit. Then we'll get a tape measure, we'll get it square. We'll run it down with the impact gun. Then we'll go ahead and torque it to 100 foot-pounds with a torque wrench.
There it comes. There we go.
All right.
Now we got it back.
And the next step is,
We're gonna take this 15 bolt out up here first.
this is gonna be that side.
And let's see if
I can do it, I
we
can
can get that in there. Okay.
Oh, I felt the bubble.
Yeah, just leave it alone. It'll stay right there. And we'll slide this in.
Right, and I gave you, I think, the one over there.
I might have to bring this down just a hair.
Okay, good.
There we go. Now we can pull this back, and we go back up. That wasn't too hard, was it?
No, not at all. Good move.
Now we got to use those two bolts sitting there that was in the bumper. The same holes that they were in before.
All right, bumper's tight.
Yep, we're good.
Subframe's all bolted up. Not bad, and we move on now to the next step.
All right, now that we got our subframe on, the next thing is our 3-stage boom. Now, it's got our hydraulic cylinders on here, comes with the hydraulic hose, plus it's even got a Class 3 hitch on it.
All right, we're pretty well lined up here. All right, now we're getting ready to put the boom on, and you can see this is the piece that's got the hydraulic ram on it. And this telescopes or extends in and out. You can see how rugged this is. Everything's double reinforced. The weld is unbelievable, and the whole thing is welded solid, not just tack welded. And there's grease fittings, every pin, so on. If you grease it often with good grease, it'll last forever. So our first move is to jack it up. We've got a big pin that's gonna go across both of these beams. I also got to thread these hydraulic hoses over this.
There you go. Yep, right through the hole there. And what do you see there?
I see that we got to go up a little bit.
Up a little more?
Yep. Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
That, huh? All right. Now we're going to raise this ram. And you want me to put this clip pin in?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. We're going to have a stroke, I think. All right. Here we go, I got it through.
Good deal.
Okay, so now we have the main frame pin for the boom in, and we got the pin that's at the split, the clevis, on the hydraulic ram. Now we're gonna hook up some of these hydraulic lines and we can move on. Right now, we need to take a quick break. Got a lot more coming here at Motorhead Garage.
Motorhead Garage, presented by ARP, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage as we work on our lift and tow system. Now we got the subframe on and our boom. The next step is our hydraulic system. And what we have here, this is electric over hydraulic pump. Got a reservoir here. Now you can mount this about any place you can where it's convenient. And the best part of it is we also have a wireless remote on here, so you don't even have to get out of the truck in order to hook up your tow.
All right, now here's the electric hydraulic pump Dave showed you. This is a pretty simple unit. Now it's marked, everything in this kit is marked. Power wire goes here, and the small black wire from the controller back there for the remote. And then of course this one here tells you that the small white wire goes here. It's just a solenoid that activates the motor. Now you're gonna get wires in the kit. You're gonna get a whole large cable like this. This is your power cable. You run it up front, there's a 12 volt B plus connector. You're protected by this fuse that comes in the kit. Always put your fuse closest to the power source. And of course, we got a ground here. We got a nice red cover to mark that it's positive. That'll go on here. And we got some hoses. If you look at the top of the pump, there's decals. Everything's marked. But if these little decals come off, it's engraved right in the pump. Pressure and tank. Pressure's going to go to the ram, then you're going to return the fluid back in this hose to the reservoir. And you get the hoses all marked. And of course, you'll notice we've been putting these hoses on, and we haven't used any thread seal or a Teflon tape. The reason for that is these are all nice inverted flare fittings. They work really good. So you got to make sure you get them right in the back. So I'll go ahead and hook up these lines, and then I'll thread them back there to Cal. And I'll be sure to tell him, first one I'm putting in, that's the return line to the tank. And these tighten up. You don't have to over tighten them because they're flares. Get them good and snug. All right, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna put the whole unit up here. There's a bracket that they supply, bolts onto the side of the chassis. This will sit up on top of that bracket, reservoir forward. And of course, once it's up there, we can then hook up all our hydraulic lines. Then we'll add fluid, we'll bleed the system out, and we'll get it to run, and hook up our power up front. We'll be ready to try this with our remote control.
Okay, folks, this is what makes it a self-loader. This is called the Z-bar. We hook this up to the boom, hook up our hydraulics, and you can hook this thing up and start towing.
All right, now we're ready to put our Z-bar on, and you know, it's gonna go on here where this boom comes out. Now, normally you do this on the ground, but we just happen to have this one set up on the table. We got a lift, and of course we can run this in and out, but this is really a pretty interesting piece. So Cal, tell me about this. How long did it take you to design this?
It took me about 2 years to design it, and I'll tell you what, these arms, you can stay in the truck, you don't have to get out of the truck. It's dangerous to get out of the truck on the highway.
Right.
And they fold right in. These little wheels run up on the catches and it folds right in. It's a pretty nice piece of equipment.
You know, and it's rugged made. This thing will pick up at least a 7,000-pound car. It's got double plates. If you look at the welds, everywhere you look, the weld is not just tacked, it's weld all the way around. Now tell me about these blocks right here.
Well, that's a lock block. When you're hauling a vehicle and you have the arms out, you're going down the road and you happen to blow a fitting or blow a hose, this locks the fluid in so you can't lose the car off of it. It's a safety feature.
Otherwise, if a hose ruptured, fluid would escape, and everything would go out.
Yep.
Okay, so he has the remote. We've got this all hooked up. The pump works. Let's see this thing work.
Okay.
Extending it out.
We're going to go out. We're going to go down just a hair.
We can go up and down.
Okay.
We got a pin to put in.
There we go.
There we go.
Just needs a little help.
Yeah, come on. Come on, try that.
Just there she goes. Now I'll tap that down in there.
Okay, got that in. That's held in with 2 countersunk Allen screws.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Now see, you got these little dots. I guess that pin is precision honed.
Yes, it is. I'll snug those out.
Yep. I don't think I've got it quite started straight. This needs to come back. There you go. So the next thing we got to do is we've got some hydraulic lines that come from the hydraulic selector block there. They're marked. All right, that's open, so that's going to go on the top. The block is actually marked. So a couple of fittings. Again, you don't need any thread sealer or Teflon tape because these are flares, inverted flares. and you don't really need to go cranking on them real hard. And this whole system will self-bleed as you use it.
Yes, it will.
You gotta always make sure that you've got fluid in the reservoir, because as you fill up these empty rams and lines, that'll make a difference. Again, start them by hand so you don't get the threads messed up. All right, so we'll go ahead and tighten up this lines. We'll be able to operate this thing, and then at that point, everything will be bled out. We'll get rid of these tie wraps. The whole system will be complete. Then we'll be ready to start lifting cars, won't we?
That's right.
We're gonna take a quick break, stick around. We've got a lot more coming here on Motorhead Garage.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by Bison Bumpers, custom ATV and UTV bumpers and accessories. Ultra Dent, manufacturer of paintless dent repair tools. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. And by Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage. Well, you know, engine building, something that goes on all over the place. When you're building an engine, you do a lot of measuring. You got your bore gauges, you got your dial indicators, your depth gauges. But you know, the heart of the engine, the valve train, when you're talking camshafts and springs, you need a way to measure them and measure them right. You might have a cam card, but how do you know that that cam is exactly what the car is going to say? If you're a serious engine builder and you're putting together some expensive engines, you need a way to check it. We got it right over here. This is Kevin Gertzen. Kevin, Performance Trends builds all this kind of great stuff. Tell me what you got here.
Okay, what we got is our cam test stand. You got a couple of real precise sensors. This thing's good for about 4/100ths of a thousandth of an inch, just about 4/100ths of a degree resolution. And what you do is you just, like most things nowadays, you connect it to a computer and you pull the measurements in, you rotate the cam. We can rotate it by hand. We go for 400 degrees of rotation, so we get a little bit of overlap.
Okay.
And the computer will measure everything and show you what you get. And what we got here is we got the center line and the duration, opening, closing events, lobe area, and acceleration rates and such.
So we can tell pretty much what we've got for a camshaft. And this is great to tell if a cam is indexed right, or if a cam's got twist in it.
Correct.
Anything like that.
You can see if all the lobes are what they're supposed to be, duration at 50, 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths, lobe separation, the whole thing.
That's awesome, and measures it real accurately. Of course, we got it on a nice platform here. That's a nice table to keep it good and steady.
Yep.
So now, we open and close the valves. We open them with the camshaft, and we close them with the springs.
Yep.
So springs are real critical. You know, you get a weak valve spring, you're talking about you can lose some power.
Absolutely.
And of course, we all have the old spring tester. Tell us how this thing works.
What we got here is our valve spring tester. This is our pneumatic, automatic ones. We got manual ones. And you can hear it's pneumatic. And what we're doing here is the big drag race guys, they need a lot of force. They're running spring race. They're huge. And this thing can go up to 2,500 pounds if we need to.
Wow.
So right now what we're doing is we're bull-nosing the spring, which is compressing in the bind 3 times. You can do different. But it gives a little bit more repeatable result if you bull-nose it a few times, and then it's going to do the actual test.
That gives us the spring rate and the pressure and that kind of stuff?
Correct. The seated force, the open force, the spring rate, and you can say, give me what force at a certain height. So if you want to find your correct shims, stuff like that.
That's awesome. And of course, they got stuff here for testing on the bench, but also they got some really neat equipment. If you drive a car in and you want to check it right there, Dave's going to show us that.
All right, now, folks, Sam and Kevin have been showing you how an engine builder can check the cam on the bench, and every good engine builder wants to do that so they know exactly what they have. But what happens when you have the cam in the engine? How do you know what you got a lot of times, or how you know how it's performing? Well, Performance Trends has come up with an electronic cam checker, and this is what it is. And Kevin, this is pretty cool. You don't have to pull a motor apart or nothing to check it. Show me what you have.
You don't have to put a degree wheel on or anything. How we're figuring out degrees in TDC is with a cylinder pressure sensor right on number 1 cylinder, and you crank it over. We got a couple of lift sensors here on the retainers, and we have a rotary sensor you can mount anywhere on the engine, the front end of the engine. And it's self-calibrating because if you know TDC, and you know TDC again, when you see it 720 degrees later, you know how this thing is calibrated, and the microprocessor does all that.
So you can actually check lobe centers and everything on this.
Yep.
All right, so Sam, crank it over.
Okay, Kevin, now let's see what we got on here. What did it read?
Okay, what we got here is the first number that comes up and is the intake center line. Then we go to our exhaust center line. Then we go to the more details here. And you can see here what we got is, again, the center lines and duration at 50. You can select if you want duration at 100 or 200, something different. You got the max lift, that's tappet lift. And we got the opening and closing events and the rated lift there. Again, it was 50,000 we selected for this test. And we got the rocker ratio and lash we're assuming for this thing so we can get back to what was happening on the tappet.
So this is giving you all kind of information on there. You can see exactly what this cam is. This is great for sanctioning bodies who have a spec cam and they want to check to see if a guy's cheating. This is a quick way to do it. Here's something else that Kevin brought along. This is an electronic valve spring checker. This is really cool. I like this. A lot of the drag racers will use this, Kevin.
And what we're doing here is most valve spring checkers want the human to feel when the valve becomes unseated. But what we're doing is we're making the machine do it for you. So the idea is it takes the human element out so that Dave or Sam or myself would all get the same number no matter who does it and how they do it.
This is really a neat piece. And for you drag racers out there, I know you guys go through the valves every run. This is a fast and easy way to do it. Let's check in with Sam.
Told you we'd show you how this thing works. He's backing up just like a repo guy. You can see all this from the cab of the truck. Using his remote, he'll back right up, a couple of push buttons. The arms will come out, come around behind the rear of the front wheels. He'll lift it up. Now this unit comes with a complete set of straps for safety. A repo man's not going to take the time to do that or on the freeway. He's going to pick the car up, he's going to drive to a safe spot, then put the straps on. Look at that. That guy had made a payment, he'd be okay. All right, now, I gotta go back inside, see what Dave's up to.
Ooh, I like playing with this electronic stuff. Folks, we got some really cool toys here, but you know, once again, we've run out of time, Sam.
Absolutely, we'll see you next week, but this is really awesome.
I think we're gonna keep this.
Let me do this, I was
All right,
watching
go
you
ahead,
do that.
you try it. You
It
can't
says
go-
calculating.
Yeah, calculating.
And the trick is not to go too far.
Here, let me, okay, now try it.